Hi everybody, it's Franny, and today we're going to get to detailing the Speedster. So you're probably wondering, I don't think you can really use that power washer on this car. Well, you can actually, and it's what I want to use for this because there are so many gaps in this thing. Speedsters don't have roll-up windows. They have these little side curtains that come up on the side, and I'm not sure, they're just really more of a suggestion than anything else. I guess there's something, but this car leaks like a sieve. So if I use a hose on it, water's going to go everywhere, but I can use the power washer and just sort of mist the whole thing and not cause a fuss. I'm going to do my 2-buckety thing, and this car is really dirty and scratched all up one side and down the other. The paint's a mess, a real mess. So I'm going to try to clean the car, then I'm going to try and buff it a bit and maybe brighten up some of the brightwork here. We'll see. I'm not sure how much I can actually do. The paint is pretty old and kind of weird. It's all single part paint as well. So I don't know. We'll see how we do. But first step's going to be to wash the car. Boy, it's amazing how much better the car looks after a proper bath, huh? Look at that, the top's black and the paint is white. Look at that. All right, so next step is going to be to take a look at this paint on this car, which I know is pretty bad in a lot of places. I just want to get a mental note, and I think the best way to check the paint on your car is actually to turn off all of your lights in your garage and open your garage door and then shoot down the car a little bit. I think you'll see it really makes a big difference. All right, so look at this area here. Pretty obvious. Somebody's gone through and sanded that a bit, but it looks pretty terrible, huh? We've got some marks here. I think those will come right out. But look at this. Can you see this? There's little dots right here in the paint. So things like that are definitely something we can't fix, but you just want to kind of be aware of that sort of thing. And then down here we have a lot of imperfections in the paint. A lot of orange peel going on, and where it's been sanded it looks like maybe. Just, I don't know, not much we can really do about that. There's more through here as well. Now do you see this part looks a little bit more gray than the other part? That's because somebody sort of sanded through that a little bit, and the paint's a little thin there, so we'll have to be careful there too. Paint back here. Yeah, look at this. Okay, so take a look at that. Really rough through there. Looks like somebody's probably tried to sand this maybe, but that's really bad orange peel through there. And some chipping, all sorts of interesting stuff going on back there. We'll have to be careful of that. More of this orange peel and sanding going on here. What about on the bonnet? Can we see anything on the bonnet? Yes. You can see some up here, some orange peeling. And I know here, on this side here, there was a big scratch that ran through here, and it's a little gray through this area as well. Well, I think my process on this is that I do want to do a two-stage buff on it. So I know that takes forever, but I just think it'll really bring out some serious shine in this paint. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the bright work as well, and deal with the rubber and trim as well. So the first thing I like to do is always hit the rubber trim first. That way, if you get any of the polishing compound on it or wax or anything like that on it, it comes off much easier than it would if it was like super dry rubber. So I like to do that first. So I'm going to go do that first, and then I think I'm going to get into all of the buffing and stuff. That's just going to take most of the afternoon. And I'm going to go ahead and close the big garage door because it's just super windy out, and I really don't want a lot of dirt settling on the car because it's totally clean right now. And any dirt that gets on it when I polish it, it's going to scratch it all up. So let me go ahead and close that door. Okay, sweet. Let's get to the rubber trim work. Normally at this point I would go ahead and clay bar, but the car feels really smooth. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get started with the buffing at this point. This is going to give me an idea of just how much I can actually buff. This is a pretty messed up area actually, and the paint is a little thin here, so I'm going very lightly and just doing a little bit at a time to see about what we can. Then I think I can pretty much apply that to the rest of the car, but that actually did quite a bit. There's just a lot of contaminants in the paint as well, and so the buffer will take those out because they're just right at the surface. And that's really helpful as well. I mean, I can see a total color change just from where I was to this area over here where I haven't hit yet. This is kind of a dingy, almost grayish color, and this is much more white and brilliant. So I'm not going for a perfectly concourse, super awesome, super duper heavy shine thing here. But there's no way this paint's really going to react well. And if you grind it down or sand it down, I think it's too thin in a lot of areas, and I don't want to get into that. So, all right, now I think I have an idea about twice as long, and I can continue on with what I'm doing. I'm finally done with all the buffing, and I think it turned out really, really well. The paint on this car is, like I said, is a bit of a disaster, but it really did shine up pretty well. It looks great. So I've been through it with two passes. I did the sort of cut pass, the orange pass, and then I did the white pass, which is just sort of an actual polish. So it looks great. Next step is going to be to use the isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the entire car. I need to get rid of any residue that's still on the paint, any type of, from the buffing compounds and such. And then we'll go ahead and wax it. I also have all the metal work to do. We have a lot more work to do on the car, but wow, I think the paint looks great. I'm using 91% isopropyl alcohol. I always try to get the highest percentage I can. I think it just cleans better. But anyway, so pretty much all you do is you just basically wipe down the car. We're just trying to get rid of all the haze from the buffing compound so that our wax can adhere better. Smells antiseptic-y. Now that the car is completely wiped down and totally clean, I'm going to apply some P21S. I really like this stuff. It's a 100% Carnauba wax. Does really well, seems to last on the car. It's easy to apply, and it really has got a killer shine. So I think it's gonna look awesome. So, all right, here I go. Boy, you can tell the car's clean. It's squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Well, I think that's it. I think all we have to do is just let it dry to a haze, and I'll go ahead and buff it off. Well, our wax looks like it's all ready to buff off there. I think it's all set. So all we have to do is just buff it off. This actually comes off really easily as well. Look at that, huh? Isn't that nice? Boy, it looks great, huh? We've got all our wax removed. It looks killer, don't you think? I think it looks awesome. Really turned out well, and it was totally worth all the work to get to this point. The paint was so horrible before and so scratched and just dirty, and now look at it. It looks great. So it's worth the process. Also, it's well protected as well, so it's going to look great for a while. That's killer. All right. What do you say we tackle the brightwork next? My favorite for doing metal work is Wizard's Metal Renew. I love this stuff. It works really well. It's super easy to use, and it will really make a difference. So like this aluminum horn down here, these guys are kind of old and kind of tired looking. Some of our chrome could be polished here. I think it would look great. This stuff will work on pretty much any metal, so I really like it. Just give it a good shake. And I use a microfiber towel for it. Well, that went a little bit late last night, but it's the next day, and I'm continuing where I left off. So last night I got most of the bright work. I still have to do the windshield surround. That's fine, I can get that done. I need to put the top down anyways. But I thought it might be a great idea to do the wheels next. So these are pretty simple. Painted rims. We clean the rubber really, really well when we wash the car, so I don't have to get into that. Our hubcap's kind of really dingy and dirty, so I think I'm going to start with that, then I'll clean this, and we'll go ahead and dress the rubber. So for this, once again, I'm going to use my Wizards polish. This stuff is awesome, so I'm going to be using that. Now these are chrome hubcaps here, these baby moons, and chrome does pretty well with this stuff. You can't expect too awfully much from it, but this stuff will certainly clean it up. Might take a little bit of polishing here to get these to look nice again. So we're getting a little bit of dirt off of it, certainly. Do you hear that blue jay off in the distance there? We don't get blue jays here that much, actually. They come down, they live up in the mountains, and they come down in the fall, or we'll hear them as they're traveling through in the spring. And growing up back east, you know, in New Jersey a bit, and also in Florida, I love the blue jays. They're loud there. And as they get closer, they get really loud. But I don't know, that just makes me, I don't know, I just love the sound of the blue jays. And they're horrible, huh? They'd scream, rear, rear. But I don't know, it just brings me back. Well, you saw what the Wizards did on the tailpipes back there, and they were kind of rusty and horrible and everything. So it's funny, this stuff works sometimes, and when it works amazing. And then every once in a while it comes across something it really can't do anything about at all. That. And you can kind of hear it. It's a crunch, 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 crunch. Well, I suppose you can say at the end that it's a little bit of patina and it kind of adds to the character of everything. These older cars, sometimes I think it's funny. I think they look a little weird when they're all bright and shiny, because for me, I never saw these cars when they were new, brand new. So I know they looked awesome when they came out of the factory, all bright and shiny. I've seen pictures of them in an old video and stuff. But to me, a classic car should have some patina, or it just doesn't look like a classic car. Isn't that funny? So when they get all gussied up and get completely restored from stem to stern, and somebody spent years on them making them all pretty, I'm like, yeah, it just kind of loses a bit of character, I think. Well, that's not too bad. I mean, it's a bit of an improvement. It's about the best we're going to get with it. So I'm going to stop with that there. Let's just do a quick clean here with a little bit of waterless car wash just to get anything off. There's a little bit of schmutz down here. There we go. Go ahead and just clean them real quick like a bunny. So we just have two things left. We need to wax our wheel and also hit the tire itself with some tire dressing. I like to do the tire dressing first, same reason. If we can get this nice and coated, there's less chance that the wax will mess this up. So it's kind of like which surface messes up the other one. I can wax through this stuff just fine, but if you get wax on the rubber, it makes it really, especially super dry rubber, and this is super dry and old rubber, it'll just soak it up and then it's really, really hard to get out. So I'm going to hit it with a bit of my Infinity, which I really like. The other part is you want to apply this stuff a bit, almost a little heavy. Let it sit and let it soak in, and then go back and buff it with a microfiber in the end. So I'm using a dedicated wheel wax, actually called wheel wax. So this is actually pretty neat stuff. It seals and protects, and I think it has a little bit of carnauba in it, so it can provide a little bit of pop. And hit our hubcap as well. And we just let it sort of dry to a haze. It's a bit like watching grass grow, paint dry, wax haze. Super duper fun. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and buff it off. I think that's about the best we're going to get with this. It looks pretty good. That hubcap just not so happening, and the paint's pretty dull, but it's nice and clean, and the rubber looks pretty good, I guess. So it's about the best we're going to get with it. I'm going to go ahead and do the other 3 wheels, and that'll be that. And then I think what we need to do is get to the interior and start cleaning in there. I've got some of Adam's interior detailer here. I've been waiting to give this stuff a try. Really looking forward to it. These are all vinyl seats. This is vinyl on top of the dash here. This is painted surface. Let's see how this stuff does on all of it. There's some staining and stuff here that I don't know if we'll be able to get out, but we should be able to brighten it up a little bit. So let me see how this stuff works. For these painted surfaces on the dash, they're just car paint, you know, they're just exterior paint. So I'm going to hit it with a little bit of polish to try and get some of this. There's just some grungy staining on it that I couldn't get off with the cleanser. So this should take it off, and then I'll go back and wax all this white painted stuff here. So, okay. The last thing I want to do is to get a little bit of love on these seats. So I've got some leather conditioner from Adams. I know these are vinyl. This will work just fine for that as well. And it's a fairly matte finish, which is great. But most importantly, it has a UV protectant in it. And that's the most important part for, you know, all this stuff that can be very exposed to the sun with the top down. Easy enough to apply. Just put it on a foam applicator like this, and then just rub it in. And what you do is you rub it in, make sure it kind of soaks in. If whatever it is eats up a bunch of this, keep applying until it looks like it's done. And then let it sit for maybe 10 minutes or something like that. And then go back with a microfiber towel and just buff it out a little bit. They can be a little bit slippery though. That's my only complaint about this. It can make things a bit slippery. So never use it on a steering wheel because it can be too slippery and too hard to hold on to, which is a bummer because there's a lot of leather steering wheels, but I would advise against it. It's okay in seats because you're held in with a seat belt, but the first few times you drive around, you'll feel yourself sliding a little bit in the seats. Never ever use it on pedals or anything that you've got to have a really good grip, or your floorboards or anything like that. But it works great for just these interior vinyl bits here. So what do you think? I think it turned out really, really well. We were able to get the paint to pop a bit, and the interior really cleaned up really well as well. I think it looks great. I think the owner is going to be super psyched about it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you got questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. I'm going to put some links down below to some of the products that I use. I get a bunch of questions about that. So thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to our Patreon supporters as well. So, okay, well, thanks again, and until next time, safe travels. Bye.